to move to a little bit more of a positive and maybe aspirational topic. Besides the risks of new technology, there's also a lot of unique and new opportunities. And in particular, one that I would love to touch on is IoT, Internet of Things, and edge computing, which is basically finding ways to run the compute resources closer to the actual sources and to the activity rather than in a centralized data center. I mentioned at the top that Jonathan, his most recent role was a CEO of a company called Sensoterra, which was an IoT company focused in the agriculture space. But I think in that experience, you really came into contact with this industry and have a lot of unique perspectives. Where do you see this area going to?
Yeah, for me, this is really exciting. I think, I've been in technology for a long time. I started this company and we were making these crazy things called banner ads. You might have seen one or two. But this is like the real deal when it comes to technology. Now we're in the industrial internet, so it's impacting agriculture, manufacturing, connected vehicles. So I think this is the next tsunami of technology, and I'm super excited about it. And also, I've been following it for a while and seen it, the classic hype cycle and a lot of talk and a lot of tinkering. But now I'm starting to see some real rollouts at scale. So I think, we're on the edge in the early phase of this next wave, and I'm super excited about it. And I'm, maybe this is another webinar, but now I'm going to throw you a buzzword mashup in there. So, they call it AIoT. So you're combining AI and IoT. But I have a real hard example of that, of, this process, because I would go to these IoT conferences and then, they talk about the smart refrigerator, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, your milk is almost done, and then it automatically orders you some milk. Ah, great, that's a nice story. But now actually, there's a company in Switzerland called Axino, and they really do have AIoT. So there's a sensor in the refrigeration unit of large retailers.
Yeah.
And then that speaks back to an algorithm that'll tell you the core food temperature, which is really the important part for compliance and for food waste and to optimize your refrigeration.
Yeah.
So, just as an example, a mid-size food retailer in the US, their budget for refrigeration and energy is about 80 million a year. So if you can use these devices, and AI together and reduce their cost by 4 or 5%, that's significant. Wow. So those are the kind of workloads you're seeing. And yeah, I think it's pushing the compute really to the edge. So you have, what's the name of that company? Mythic AI. So they're designing AI chips, which is basically, it has compute and network and storage all in a processor chip. So I think, as much as, we've seen the compute power in these things advance, well, it's a mobile phone. My background blurred that.
That'll get better as with technology as well.
The cloud, yeah. You can't see it, but it's there. Yeah, so I think we're really on the next wave of there, in robotics, agriculture, and it's combining the algorithms plus the devices plus the cloud infrastructure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it reminds me, I give my age away a bit here, but it definitely reminds me of the .com era, where you had like something called Gopher and FTP. And then eventually the first web page came out and we're like, whoa. And if you look at it now, it looks like primitive stuff.
Exactly.
And the idea that you could just like go on to some, web page and order your groceries was absurd. I mean, companies bankrupt over that, and now it's possible.
Exactly.
I feel like we're in that phase now with a lot of these.
Yeah, and it's moved from just tinkering and putting stuff together, and it works some of the times to, okay, here I have a product that can roll out at scale.
Yeah.
And then gaming is, they're literally pushing the edge on this in terms of performance, high frequency traders, so there's a lot of applications at scale that really need that local compute.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really, it's an amazing space. Patrick, have you seen some companies working on this, doing things, especially with the data center, the data, the compute on the edge, things like that? What are you seeing?
No, not really on the edge. I've seen a lot of companies, or actually edge computing was interesting because a lot of companies ask like the data locality, right? So that's where edge computing can also actually address some of the concerns, for sure.
That's basically where data must be or must not be in a certain country.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you see that in Europe, sort of companies sort of looking for that type of, where edge was first designed for like IoT to reduce these like latency issues.
Yeah.
We are now looking for edge to actually put that data in the country instead of in the scary cloud, right?
Yeah,